Hello everybody. Today we're going to look at another planning video. All right. This is by another request for more videos detailing plans out of the opening and into the middle game and how to make a plan in chess in general and specifically dealing with situations where there's no direct tactical offensive to be made. Sometimes you just have to sit down and plan the position. So we're gonna go over actually an open game where there's usually more tactics, but it's an exciting game between Alexander Morozevich with the white pieces, who was rated 2745 at the time, and longtime British number one Michael Adams with the black pieces, rated 2746. This is from the Chorus Vikenze tournament, round 4 in 2001. So the game started off, Morozevich played e4, Adams e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4, bishop c5, and then we have an Evans gambit. There's several responses here, but white chooses to accept the gambit. Okay, bishop takes b4, c3, bishop to a5. This is all well known. d4, e takes d4, and now here there's two branches. There's castle and then queen b3. Here Morozevich chooses to go with castling. Okay, and here Michael Adams played a line which basically kind of put this castling variation out of business. Um, he played the move here, knight g e7. But before I get into the rest of the game, let's just do a quick analysis of the position here. All right, and we're going to use again our 7-step method that I've been using in the other videos. Okay, so the first thing we're going to look at is king safety. Both kings are safe. Although black is not castled yet, both kings are safe. All right, so that's not like a big worry. But black is not castled yet. Okay, and it is white to move. So okay, so we can mark that. Okay, black's king is not castled yet. All right, so let's keep that in mind. Two, um, material. Okay, so we count up the material. Okay, and we see that black is up material as he is gambited some pawns. All right, so that is important at this moment. Um, Black has all of his pawns, and white is down 2 pawns in a position. All right, so that's number 2. 3, direct threats. All right, it's white to move here. Are there any direct threats? Any pieces attacked? Is there a fork, of the king and queen? Things like that. All right. There's really no direct threats here, except if black could move again, it's possible that he could take this extra pawn. All right. Although that's something that white would love for him to do. But again, that's something that we just want to keep in mind, that the pawn can be uh, captured. Okay, number 4, open lines, right? Open diagonals, open files, and ranks in general. All right. We can see here that the position is still pretty closed, except that we have a few diagonals open. We have this C1 to H6 diagonal open where the light dark square bishop of black rests upon C1. This is open still. All right, we have this small diagonal here. We also have this diagonal is open and available also. We have this diagonal, the B3, the E6 is open. And we have one semi-open file, which would happen to be the B file. Okay. Actually, we have, well, if you want to get technical, we have 2 because there's only one pawn on the the E file. So we can call the E file semi-open, and the B file is semi-open also because there's a pawn on B7. All right, but for the most part, the open lanes consist of diagonals. All right, so now we get into pawn structure and weak and strong squares. We can see that black's pawn structure is better than white just by glancing at the board. So now let's get into weak and strong squares. The F5 square is good for white here. Um, and also the B4 square is good for white, and that black cannot occupy these squares with any of his pieces. Okay. Also, also white has some contestation. We're not going to say control, but he has some contestation over the D5 square because again, black cannot safely put a piece there. And the reason why I say white doesn't have full control over D5 is because black can play the move D5 safely. However, he's not able to put a piece there, so that's why I say this square is under contestation. All right. Same applies with the B5 square. Black cannot use that square because his bishop is guarding it. All right. Also G5. Same thing with G5. White has control over that square also. All right. So white has a few squares in a black territory. Um, that black has to think about as far as future piece placement. Now we're gonna move on to the center and space. Okay, here again we kind of touched on the center a little bit with we said black is able to play D5 here, but right now white has occupation of E4 and he has good control on D5. Right now in this particular position. Also, white is contesting the E5 square, which is in black's territory, so that's good for white. Meaning that the black knight cannot sit here safely; he would get captured. White cannot go here safely either because he would be captured. However, this square being in black's territory, um, and at the same time black not being able to use it, that is a net positive for white. All right. Now, conversely, black has this pawn right here on D4. Okay, but we can't say that that pawn is controlling anything. It's just merely there because if white wanted to, he could just capture the pawn. Okay. Meanwhile, black um, is really not able, to do much here with the pawn. So the center, we have to give that nod to white there also. All right, he has greater influence in the center, and also as a result of his pieces and preponderance in the center, white also has more space there. Okay, he controls more territory in the center in general. Okay, the next criteria we're going to look at is piece development. White has a lead in development here, and we're going to look at piece location also. And again, white's pieces are slightly better in this particular position. All right, so putting everything together, right? Putting everything together, um, white has compensation, okay? Because white's advantages or compensate for his lack of material in this position. Okay, so that would be like your final verdict. So you could say that this position is sort of equal. Yes, white is down material, but his dynamic advantages um, compensate for his material deficit. Okay, um, and what I mean by is the fact that he has open lines, he has lead in development, he has better control in the center, he has more space, All right. These advantages compensate for the fact that he is down in material. However, with dynamic advantages, they are tend to be temporary. Okay. In other words, if these advantages aren't converted quickly, right? They aren't used in the next few moves, then black can simply catch up. For example, in development, um, black can contest the space advantage that white has, etc. And then what will happen is black then will realize his material advantage and then just be winning. Okay, so with all of that information, the plan for white is pretty straightforward. Okay, he has to use his dynamic advantages, again, lead in development, space, and greater control in the center, along with the open diagonals, open files, to use that to rapidly attack black and keep black against the ropes. That is white's plan that he should be pursuing. Okay, so now we have a general umbrella that we should be operating under as white. Okay, and this should also give you some insight why one of the main lines here, or the main line that Paul Morphy played a long time ago, is Queen B3, right? Attacking immediately the F7 pawn. This move is good also in that it develops, but there's no attack, meaning that white does give black a chance to breathe, even if it's just for one tempi. Okay, but that's a theoretical discussion. So now that we've weighed and looked at all of the different aspects of the position, we know how white should be playing in general. White should be playing an attacking game, utilizing the dynamic advantages, realizing that hey, these are temporary, so I have to make every move count, or black is just going to simply realize his material advantage. Okay, and it's with this theme that white is going to move forward, and conversely, black is going to be trying to do the opposite of what we just analyzed with white. I'm not going to go through the same process with black, but basically his plan is going to be opposite of what we came up with white. Black wants to keep the position closed, right? Black wants to catch up in development. The reason why he wants to keep the position closed is because he is behind in development. Okay, he wants to neutralize the space advantage. Okay, he wants to contest black on the open files and diagonals. Okay, so that's going to be black's plan. So now that you understand that, let's see the next couple of moves. Adams played knight ge7. What is knight ge7? First of all, it keeps the lines closed while preparing d5 and castling. Okay? Why does black want to keep the lines closed? Again, he's behind in development. He can't afford to have lines being opened up right now. Okay, so he's developing, right? Because he's behind, and he's keeping lines closed. Okay, and he's preparing d5. What does d5 do? It contests white's advantage and dominance in the center. Now knight g5. So now Morozevich is doing what? He's pursuing a plan of attack, right? He's attacking the f7 square here. All right. Not only is he playing against f7, but he's also playing against h7. All right. If castles, right, a move that black would love to do, and queen h5 would allow the advantage to start to shift in a big fashion in to white's favor. Okay, because f7 is attacked 3 times and h6 is h7 is attacked twice. So h6 is forced, and then you have knight takes f7. So Adams does the next best thing. He plays knight d. He plays d5 again, chipping away at white's pluses in the position. So he plays d5 here. E takes d5. If bishop takes d5, of course it's possible, but it's not good at all. This goes against what white is trying to do. Okay, trading off pieces like this, especially a powerful bishop right on that beautiful diagonal. This goes against the spirit of white's plan. And this is why it's good to analyze a position to understand, because you wouldn't do moves like this. But I'm just showing you so you can see. So e takes d5, queen takes d5, say rook e1 check, for example, simply bishop e6, and black is again just up material. And notice how much development black has. So black and is influence in the center. So basically all of the qualities, right, that I heaped upon white, you can see that from that slight error, everything um, turns around, and black now possesses all of those things, right? The influence of the center, uh, better development, etc., etc. So this is why Morozevich played e takes d5, right? Still trying to maintain the initiative. And now knight e5. Okay, attacking the bishop again with knight e5 and defending f7. The bishop drops back to b3. If queen d4, just like f6 is a good move. All right, game is still up for grabs. Bishop b5 is possible. c6, d takes, b takes, probably a little better for black. Moro plays bishop to b3, and now Adams just castles. All right, and again the onus is on white to prove compensation for his material deficit, because slowly but surely we see black is just unraveling. Okay, those advantages that we mentioned for white in the initial analysis are starting to be nullified. So c takes d4. Okay, another variation is knight takes h7 here. King takes h7, queen h5 check, king g8, queen takes e5, knight f5, queen c takes d4, and rook e8. Again, the trade-offs don't help white at all. Okay, and notice the pawn structure also of white is terrible. All right, behind in development, and this pawn structure is terrible. So c takes d4 was played. Knight g4. Um, what's the idea of knight g4? The knight simply blocks the white queen's advance to h5. Right, the queen wants to be here. The knight blocks that from happening. Right, and the second idea is for this knight to transfer to f6, and this strengthens the defense of the king side. So good move. So queen f3, and we see the idea is still putting pressure here on f7. All right, and it also defends this pawn that's being attacked. So now knight f6, right, defending f7 and putting pressure here, right, on d5, but also threatening to move bishop g4. Okay, so what we see is a concerted effort by black, right, to consolidate his position here. Now notice black has given back the material already, right? The pawns are even. So if we did another analysis, right, we see, okay, the pawns are even. Okay, but look at the quality of the pawns. Okay, those pawns are terrible. Bishop a3. There's a use of a beautiful diagonal. All right, and what this does is at least temporarily anyway, it pins the uh, knight to the rook. Okay, and tactically defends this pawn here. Sorry about that. h6, kicking the knight out. Knight e4. So Morozevich is trying to extract as much as he can out of the position, and now he's threatening to rip open the king side with knight takes f6. So Adams exchanges. Queen takes e4, and now rook e8. So with the pressure now alleviated on f7, the rook is able to move with tempo to e8. Bishop to b2. All right. So now knight f5. Great move by Adams. The idea is to blockade these pawns and also gain the tempo against the queen with knight d6. So now queen f4. Okay. Bishop b4. And so now Adams' plan is to bring this bishop to the king side by playing bishop to d6. Knight a3. The idea here is bring the knight to c4. Bishop d6, queen d2. And after the queen is kicked out of the black king side here, this opens the door for black to launch his counterattack on the king side. Okay, notice the changes in the position. How first it was white that had this kind of initiative on the king side, and now black has successfully driven white away, and now black is saying, "Hey, it's my turn." And this is one of the excuse me. This is one of the principles that you'll find in a lot of these gambit openings is that you accept the gambit, but you don't try to hold on to the pawn at all costs, right? Oftentimes you can give the pawn back, but have a better position. And this is what you see here, is black's position is perfect. Now he has good standing on the e file. His pieces are developed and don't look awkward. He's ready to launch a counterattack on the king side. Um, and all because he didn't try to hold on to the pawn or just keep capturing pawns at all cost, as they used to do several hundred years ago. At least certain players, you see some of these games where they just will not stop eating pawns. It's like they had an addiction, and then they would wind up losing. So the game continued. Queen h4. So like I said, the queen was kicked out to d2, and that opened up black's counterattack. g3, forcing weakness out of the white position. Nice classic chess. Okay, so now it looks like black is the one who has played the gambit, right? Queen h3, knight c4. Okay, and now Adams plays this move b5, kicking out the knight. The knight jumps into e5. Bishop b7, rook a e1, a5, and white has to check this threat right here. So a3, b4, a takes b4, bishop takes b4, c3, which Morozevich overlooks a nice combination here. Bishop takes c3, queen takes c3, and oh yeah, and notice the position of the queen. The queen is just kind of out in limbo after the capture, and this allows Michael Adams to end the game with knight h4. Okay, so at the end of the day, white was able to hold on to his d4 and d5 pawns, but he loses the king in the process. And of course, if the knight is captured, the queen falls at c3, and then mate is threatened at the same time. So a short game, right? 27 moves in the Evans Gambit, but nice, exciting game. But I hope you were able to get the you know get the meaning of the moves after we analyzed the position, and we came up with the overarching plan. Because once you come up with the plan, then you're able to kind of figure out what the players are doing. It makes the games much more fun to go over because everything makes sense. All right, you're not just memorizing like raw variations and stuff like that. Everything makes sense once you understand the plan You saw how what White was trying to do. White was trying to attack, use his open lines, open files, etc. But this particular variation, Michael Adams had started playing at this time. Um, Kind of put this castles on the back burner, and since then there's been other adjustments, that's improvements that have been made. But at the time, this system that Michael Adams was playing as black made it difficult um, for players to just play castle, because after castles, the white could not generate the attack that's needed to justify his material deficit. Okay, this move d5 is very powerful. And again, just keeping the position closed. Notice how this him giving the pawn back causes white to block his own pieces. Okay, so he's causing him to block his own pieces, attacking at the same time. And again, when we look at the general plan, everything that Adams did makes sense, and everything that White did make sense too. It just didn't work out. It just wasn't sound at the end of the day. Okay, so that is it for this particular lesson. And like, keep the feedback coming. Requests, we could do more planning or whatever kind of videos you want to do. Please support my channel. Clicking on the links below. There's DVDs, videos, donation button, and of course the DVDs and books are always going to be related to the opening that you see on the screen. So in this case, it'll be Gyoko Piano slash Evans Gambit down there, from Chess Base, if you're interested. All right, so please like and subscribe and all that good stuff, and we'll see you on the next video.